There is no soot formation. What is C here? Number of oxygen atom. So if you have enough oxygen, at least you can convert C to CO. You won't have soot formation if you have enough oxygen. Okay. Even the partial oxidation of carbon to CO won't happen. I mean, completely, in the sense that apart from CO formation, you will also have the soot formation if at all the concentration of C falls below A/2. If C is less than A/2, then C with the subscript S, this will be positive, right? In the sense, you are creating some soot here. With C less than A/2, you are creating soot here. C is nothing but oxygen concentration. So what this model conveys to you is, if there is an oxygen deficiency, you will have more and more soot formation. Even partial oxidation of carbon is difficult. Rather, you will get into more and more solid carbon formation. The solid carbon is what is soot. So the primary mechanism that causes soot formation through this simple model is oxygen availability. When oxygen is not available, you are going to form soot. This is the reason why diesel engines have soot formation. SI engines do not have soot formation. The primary cause is oxygen unavailability. So that is how we get into soot, and as we have discussed, the soot grows through coagulation and surface growth, and you have other particles getting suspended. When the exhaust gas leaves the diesel vehicle, you have this suspended solid and liquid particle, and that is what is the particulate that is emitted into surrounding ambient. Fortunately, most of the soot that is generated in a diesel engine get oxidized in the cylinder itself. So there is something called soot oxidation. Around 90% of the total soot that is formed in the diesel engine is oxidized inside the cylinder itself. This is very fortunate to have. Otherwise, you can imagine the particle concentration in the surrounding ambience. So around 90% of the total soot formed is oxidized in the cylinder itself. What we get in the tailpipe is only the remaining 10%. So 10% is in tailpipe. 90% is oxidized in the cylinder itself. Only 10% is in the tailpipe. That is what is let out into surrounding ambience from the diesel exhaust. Okay, so how it get oxidized? So to oxidize it, what you need is an oxidizing agent. Okay, so in a rich mixture, OH radical is an oxidizing agent that oxidizes soot. Okay, so when I say oxidizes soot, it is converting into CO or CO2. Okay, soot is nothing but carbon. When I say oxidation of soot, this carbon is getting converted to CO, gas phase CO or gas phase CO2. In a rich mixture, OH is a radical that oxidizes soot. In a lean mixture, you have sufficient oxygen. So oxygen itself will act as an oxidizer for soot. So, but what you need is a sufficient temperature. When the temperatures are high, the solid carbon itself will get oxidized in presence of this species, oxidizing species, either OH in rich mixture or O2 in lean mixture. So this species will oxidize soot provided the temperature levels are high in the engine cylinder. Okay, with the higher temperature, you can expect a higher rate of soot oxidation. So the particle that goes into the tailpipe will come down. Clear? Okay, so now we have come to the last part of this chapter. So what we have discussed so far is a mechanism that results in forming these 4 pollutant species. Now we are getting into the factors. So we are going to bring out the factors. When I say factors, it's an engine design based factor or engine operating condition based factor. So we are going to look at what are all the various factors that influence pollutant formation. And you will see that these factors, engine design or operating variable, they are going to be different for SI engine and CI engine. So we are going to deal with it separately for SI engine and CI engine. We are going to look at what are the engine design or operating variables in SI engine that are going to influence the pollutant formation. Similarly, we are going to look at what are the engine design and operating variables that influence pollutant formation in CI engine. So these are the various factors. As I said, these factors are going to be different in SI and CI engine. To start with, we are going to look at SI engine, spark ignited engine. We are going to look at the variables that affect or influence pollutant formation in SI engine. So what are the primary pollutants emitted from SI engine?
CO, SE, NOx, 3.
Yeah, in NOx you have only NO. NO2 is negligible. So you have NO, you have SC, you have CO. These three are the primary pollutant species emitted from spark ignited engine. Now we are going to look at the variables that influence these three pollutant formation in SI engine. First, let us look at the design variable. So how we distinguish this design and operating variable is, you can vary these parameters or variables when the engine is running. So that's why you can say that we can dynamically control this variable to control the pollutant formation. Those are coming under operating variable. And the other category of variables are design variable, wherein you cannot vary this when the engine is running. You cannot control them dynamically. Rather, you should optimize this variable when you design an engine. So at the time of design stage itself, you have to carefully optimize certain parameters so that you can avoid a very high pollutant formation in engine, SI engine. Those variables are design variables. So this design variables needs to be optimized at the time of designing or before you launch the engine into the market. Okay. So this is at the design stage, and the second variable you can optimize at any point of time. When the engine is running, you can vary this variable so that you can have a control over the pollutants, these three pollutants. So now let us look at the design variables. So you have three important design variables that affect pollutant formation. One is compression ratio. Second one is residual gas fraction. Third one is wall. So these three are the design-based parameters or variable that influences these three pollutant formation in spark ignited engine. So now when I discuss about the influence of these variables on these pollutant, you need to recollect whatever mechanism we have discussed so far. Okay, so this improved understanding of mechanism is very important to analyze how these variables influence this pollutant formation in SI engine. Did you get what I am saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you need to keep in mind that the mechanism, whatever we have discussed so far, that needs to be related with these variable in order to analyze the effect of these variable on the pollutant. For example, if you take compression ratio, you know very well that this is one of the important design variable. This is defined as total volume, which is clearance plus swept volume divided by clearance volume. This ratio is what is compression ratio. So once you design an engine, you have to carefully fix this swept volume. You have to carefully fix this clearance volume so that once for all, this value is optimized for a given engine. You know, RC, compression ratio, exists in a range. So you have to pick one number, one optimized number, so that you are not increasing this pollutant level significantly. This you need to do at the design stage itself. Otherwise, the pollutant control will become a difficult task later on. So at the time of designing the engine, you have to carefully fix the compression ratio. This is what you have to do. But the important point we need to look at here is how compression ratio affects these three pollutants. So suppose if we consider that we are increasing compression ratio. Once you increase compression ratio, once you fix a higher compression ratio, what effect it will create on these pollutants? Let us take NO.
So NO will increase, sir, probably. That is because
so once you increase compression ratio, you know that the operating temperature will increase. Already we discussed that NO formation is highly sensitive to temperature. You have three routes: thermal NO, prompt NO, and fuel NO. Among this, thermal NO is a major contributor, and thermal NO we have seen that it is highly sensitive to temperature. So anything that increases in-cylinder combustion temperature is going to increase NO. Since you increase compression ratio, we know that increasing compression ratio will increase temperature, thereby it will increase NO. Now, what will be its effect on HC, unburnt hydrocarbon emission? If you increase compression ratio, what effect it will create on HC? Again, you have to recollect the mechanism behind SC formation in SI engine. Whatever mechanism we have discussed, please recollect and comment on what will happen to SC if you increase compression ratio.
It will increase, sir, because we are pushing more charge to the crevice volume.
Exactly. So when you increase compression ratio, SC will also increase. We have seen that the crevice flow is one of the major contributor for SC formation in SI engine. But once you increase compression ratio, you are actually increasing the crevice flow, because this will increase crevice flow. I mean, increasing compression ratio will increase crevice flow. This is one effect. Okay. Apart from this, there is something called post-flame oxidation. This post-flame oxidation is considerably high in SI engine compared to CI engine. What do you mean by post-flame oxidation? Even after the flame quenches, even after the flame, when I say flame quenches, it's a termination of combustion process, right? That is what we discussed in chapter 3 about SI engine combustion. The last stage is flame termination. So once we say that flame terminate, the combustion process in that mark the end of the combustion process. After the flame terminate, after the end of combustion, the oxidation of SC will continue to happen, because SC is a range of hydrocarbon. What you need for oxidation is a high temperature. That will be available in spark ignited engine, because operating feed range is close to stoichiometry or slightly rich. That is going to create high operating temperature. This we have already discussed. SI engine operating temperature is going to be high compared to CI engine. So there is something called post-flame oxidation. That is after the termination of flame, SC will continue to oxidize. And this post-flame oxidation is generally very high in SI engine compared to CI engine, primarily because our engine operating temperature is high in SI engine. That's why even after the combustion stops, the hydrocarbon will slowly oxidize, because the available temperature in the cylinder is high. This is one of the important mechanisms that reduces SC emission. What will happen when you increase compression ratio? Higher the compression ratio, higher will be expansion ratio. Did you get what I am saying? Higher the compression ratio, higher will be the expansion ratio. Do you agree?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When expansion is high, what will happen to the temperature?
It will reduce, sir.
It will reduce. So higher the compression ratio, higher will be expansion ratio. So post-flame oxidation will considerably reduce in SI engine if the compression ratio is high. This is again another mechanism that is causing high SC with high compression ratio. And the other effect is, I said that you are increasing compression ratio probably by dropping or reducing the clearance volume. When you reduce the clearance volume, when the piston is at top dead center, the whatever volume, this is, let us say this is TDC. When you reduce the compression ratio, okay, when you increase compression ratio, right, there are different ways you can do it. One of the way is reduce the VC, that is clearance volume. Right, when I say that I'm reducing the clearance volume, what will happen is when the piston is at TDC, the volume here is less. When volume is less, the surface to volume ratio will be high. When surface to volume ratio is high, what will happen to flame quenching? This is another important mechanism we discussed.
It will be high.
So flame quenching will be high. Flame quenching will be high when the surface to volume ratio is high. This is what is happening with the increased compression ratio. Okay, so overall effect of increasing compression ratio is there is a rise in temperature, there is a rise in NO. Okay, and there will be increase in SC, because you have more crevice flow, you have less post-flame oxidation, you have high flame wall quenching. Okay, all this, the cumulative effect of all this is an increase in SC emission in the engine exhaust when compression ratio is high. Similarly, you can expect a high CO because partial oxidation is going to happen. Okay, so especially because the post-flame oxidation is dropping. Okay, so it is not advisable from the perspective of pollutant control. It is not advisable to increase compression ratio for SI engine, because it's increasing the primary pollutant species. So it's not only NOx that limit the compression ratio is in SI engine, it's also the pollutant species formation. That rate of formation will be high when the compression ratio is high. So you need to keep a check on compression ratio So from the perspective of improving thermal efficiency or engine performance, you are interested to increase compression ratio, but that will be put under check for two reasons. One is knock, and the other one is high pollutant emission. So you need to carefully optimize compression ratio in such a way that you are not increasing pollutant emissions very high. The second variable is residual gas fraction. This residual, I think, did I already talked about residual gas?
Yes, sir. During valve overlap period, you have told.
So what is this residual gas fraction?
The burnt gas which is not escaped the cylinder.
Yeah, which carries over to the next ignition cycle or
Next operating cycle.
operating cycle. Yeah.
So generally, this residual gas is around 4 to 8% by volume. What is this residual gas? The gas that remains in the cylinder at the end of one engine operating cycle. At the end of one engine operating cycle, what is the final process in the engine operating cycle?
Exhaust, sir.
Exhaust. So ideally, we would expect all the exhaust to be cleared off from the cylinder at the end of exhaust. This is an ideal case. Why? Because we want that space to be available for the fresh mixture to fill in the next cycle. But actually what is happening, there is some fraction of residual. Residual is a product of combustion. Some fraction of residual that will remain in the cylinder at the end of one engine operating cycle, whose cannot avoid. You cannot completely eliminate this. Okay, there will be some 4 to 8%. It's in a range, as you could see. Okay, this you cannot eliminate. So there is some product of combustion remaining in the cylinder at the end of one cycle. Okay, so this is what we are talking about, this residual gas fraction. Why I have brought it under design variable is you can vary this, meaning you can increase or decrease this based on two reasons. One, by varying compression ratio. So this is dependent on two important design variable. One is compression ratio and second one is valve timing. That's why this is listed out under design variable. So when the compression ratio is high, the expansion, just now I said that the expansion is also high. When expansion ratio is high, the residual gas fraction will come down. Okay, this is one effect of compression ratio on the residual gas. The other one is valve timing. So we have talked about valve overlap period, wherein both intake and exhaust valve will remain in the open condition. So there is a valve overlap period. So during this period, intake valve and exhaust valve both remain in open condition. Okay, so because of this valve overlap period, you are creating this scavenging process. I think I have already discussed about this. So the scavenging process, what is scavenging? Intake mixture will come with some velocity. This will help in clearing or expelling exhaust gas to the exhaust line. That is the reason why you intentionally keep both the valves remain in the open condition for some time. Okay, so there is something called scavenging that is happening, which helps in clearing the exhaust gas from the cylinder by using the velocity of the incoming fresh mixture. So incoming mixture will come with some velocity, this is generally high, and this helps in clearing exhaust gas from the cylinder through the exhaust line. This is what is scavenging process. Okay, and the scavenging process is based on how much overlap period, valve overlap period you provide. So you can increase or decrease this valve overlap period based on the intake valve timing, intake and exhaust valve timing. This is what you do when you design an engine. So based on the valve timing, the overlap period is going to be different. Accordingly, the residual gas fraction is going to be different. Did you get what I'm saying? So you have this residual gas that remains in the engine cylinder, some fraction of product of combustion remain in the cylinder, and that proportion can be varied by varying compression ratio or by varying valve timing or both. Okay, so by using this, you can increase or decrease the residual gas fraction. Okay, and that is the reason why it is listed under design variable. Now let us look at what effect it will create on the pollutant. This is what is important to know. When you have higher product of combustion, suppose if you increase residual gas fraction, what effect you can expect on the primary pollutant?
The NOx will come down. The
NOx will increase or decrease?
It will come down, sir. NO will come down.
One of the NOx control, this is like an internal EGR, exhaust gas recirculation. I will talk more about it as we move on, discuss pollutant control method. The product of combustion, there are two effects of product of combustion. I think I have already said about that. One is it displaces oxygen. Second one, it reduces temperature. So these two are the important effect of the products of combustion remaining in the cylinder. When I talk about effect of residual gas, I'm talking about its effect on the combustion process. On the combustion process, there are two important effects. One, it reduces oxygen concentration. Since it remains in the cylinder, it is not allowing that space for fresh mixture. So oxygen content will come down. Since these gases are the products of combustion are primarily triatomic gases, they have a very high specific heat. So when I say you have a component with high specific heat, it will act as a heat sink. Heat sink means it will absorb the thermal energy and it won't allow the temperature to rise. That is what I mean by sink, heat sink. So these two are the important effect. Oxygen availability is reduced. Temperature in the combustion chamber is reduced. When you have less oxygen, when you have less temperature, retaining more residual gas in the cylinder through compression ratio variation or wall timing variation is you can effectively control NO. NO level will come down. But what will happen to HC or CO?
CO will increase, sir, because of less solubility of oxygen.
Both SC and CO
And SC will also
to rise because once you have residual gas, I said just know that you are reducing temperature or reducing oxygen. So because of this, the oxidation rate of SC and CO will come down. CO and SC won't oxidize effectively in the cylinder because you have less temperature, less oxygen. So there will be rise in SC, rise in CO. So there is a trade-off. NO come down, NO will come down with high residual gas, but SC and CO will increase. So you need to optimize compression ratio and wall timing in such a way that you have an optimal residual gas at the end of one cycle so that there is some control over NO, but you are not rising or increasing SC and CO. So there is a trade-off you need to optimize. That's why we need to optimize a lot of parameters when we design the engine, including this residual gas fraction. It's time up. I stop here. If you have any questions, I can take.
Sir, will the residual gas fraction change based on the piston crown type also, sir?
Piston crown type.
Yes, sir. Piston crown top design. When we change
top design, it will change because piston crown is crown shape is going to vary the clearance volume.
Okay, sir. Sir, not on that aspect. I was asking if because the swirl will increase, so because of swirl increase, this will help in better scavenging process. You know, so this will reduce.
Those are other effects. So when I talk about effect of one variable, please take a note that all other parameters are constant. I am checking the effect of only one variable.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So I'm assuming that all other effects are negligible.
Understood.
Keeping all other effects as constant, if I change only residual gas fraction, what are its effect on the pollutant species?
Understood. Clear.
This again is a valid question. It's important. So through this, what I am conveying is when I talk about effect of any variable, I am presuming that all other variables are kept constant. That's how you will establish the effect of one parameter. You should keep all other parameters as constant. Vary only one parameter, you will be able to establish the effect of that parameter.
Understood, sir. Clear, sir. It's clear, sir.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sir, Vivekanand here. I joined at 6:04, sir. Sorry, I joined late.
Yeah, you should come on time.
Okay, sir.
Yesterday also I have seen two people join late.
Sir, Vignesh here. I also just missed the attendance. I joined at 6. I texted also in the group. I don't not want to disturb.
Which areas?
Vigneshwaran, sir.
Okay.
Sorry,
No,
sir.
no, so yesterday also it happened. That's why it's happening every day. So please avoid this. I generally won't encourage this. So please be on time. You know the schedule, right? So it should be on time to get the attendance.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir. We will
Okay.
follow, sir.
Sir, one
Okay.
question
Yeah.
regarding that, regarding the final exam, sir. Basically, we have started the preparation for the final exam also. So that will be covering up the whole syllabus, right, sir? From the chapter 1 to
Yes,
till
whole
5.
syllabus. But the weightage will be given more for the contents that are discussed after quiz 2, because that will give a fair distribution of marks among the different contents for the course. Whatever that is already tested
get
for
this, I'm
quiz
sorry.
1
Can
and
you
2,
repeat,
you
sir,
can
please?
expect less weightage. Whatever that is not yet tested, I mean the contents that are not yet tested, you can expect more weightage in semester exam. So kind of fair marks distribution among the different contents of the course.
Sir, it may be some 50-50, is that, sir? For quiz 1 and quiz 2.
No, but split I will take care. It's very difficult to precisely say what is the number.
Okay, sir.
But just take a note that you can expect higher weightage for whatever content we discuss after quiz 2.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
And sir, one thing more, sir, the numerical problems that was discussed in during the quiz 1, we can expect that also in that way.
Yeah,
Okay, sir.
yes, all the entire syllabus.
Similar type problem that we had.
Marks, in terms of marks, the weightage will be more for the contents discussed after quiz 2.
Noted, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, so there are no more questions. I'll stop here. I'll meet you tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.